What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down to the Wire. I'm your host, Brian Costa. And on today's episode, I have a very special guest in store for you guys. I know I say that a little too often, but I really do mean it today. Joining me on the show today is an individual that I've been trying to get on for a good amount of time now. Our schedules have kind of been all over the place, so I'm finally glad that we are able to sit down and do this interview. Joining me on the show today is a good long friend of mine. We went to high school together, knew each other through outlets like that. Competing now out of high school, he is a professional mountain bike racer. So without any further ado, let me welcome to the show Max Beaupre. Max, how you doing today, man?
Doing good, brother. How you doing?
Dude, I am so glad to have you on. So, kind of going into it, I'll have you kind of maybe, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, kind of, where you're kind of like where you're from, some different things like that. Obviously from Sutton, but I'll let you kind of get into it.
Yeah, right on. So, yeah, pretty much from Sutton, Massachusetts, born and raised, always in the central Mass area. Um, Rode dirt bikes for like first half of my life. Then when I turned like 13, my dad was like, all right, let's go mountain biking. So I got a little bit more into the mountain biking thing. That's like when I moved into Sutton from Boylston. And so I did some mountain bike racing, more like cross country kind of stuff, pretty straightforward, just pedaling through the woods. And then I hit 15 and I was like, dang, I want to go fast downhill, So my dad and I went to this place called New Hampshire. And then kind of from there, my aero career took off, and that's kind of where I'm at now with my racing type, because in Duro, you go up the mountain, take it easy, and then on the time stage is going down, you just let it loose, and it's really cool because you're riding all day, show up to the mountain for a weekend and practice for 1 3-minute downhill run, so I just enjoy the extra pedaling and, just more time on the bike. But yeah, so that's pretty much my growing up story.
Yeah. So you were talking about your dad kind of getting you into the whole racing game. Did your dad kind of do that growing up? Was that kind of something that he did and kind of passed on to you, or was it kind of he introduced you to it and you kind of saw an outlet with it and ran from there? Like, how did you really get into like the whole racing aspect of it?
Yeah, so my dad actually grew up in the 70s and 80s racing dirt bikes.
Okay.
And actually, he's been racing dirt bikes his whole life. So yeah, him and his brother from the 70s onward were racing dirt bikes, all different disciplines. And when my mom and my dad had me in 2000, he was kind of like, he saw this as an opportunity for him to, go experience that with his kid, make it like that thing. Son and a dad pair always have like that thing they go and do together. Like racing for me and my dad, that's like what we do. Like for example, like I've probably done over like at this point 500 races in my life. Like,
wow.
I've been racing since I was 4 years old. Like, it's just every time me and my dad go racing, like we just have like the setup and the schedule just down to a science. Like we don't even have to talk to each other. It all just like happens. Like we have this RV and like when we get to the venue, we get it all set up. We don't even have to say anything. Like it all just happens. We all have our tasks and whatever. And it's just like, we've just gotten to perfect it, over so many times. And it's so cool to like every single time I go race with him, it's perfect to the T. Like, and it's just such a cool like thing, especially when it's with your dad.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. So, you've obviously had a lot of experience with it when you were younger. Is there like maybe a memory from like when you were like really young where, obviously you've been doing it kind of your whole life, but is there like a memory of like when you were young going out with your dad? Is there like kind of a thing where you go like that's probably the moment where I fell in love with this?
So the town I was born in Boylston, we had like these big cornfields down the road from my house that we used to go riding. And like, I remember one day we were like watching Supercross on TV. And then like, we went to go like practice me riding my dirt bike because I was like all excited. And it was like, I don't know, it just was like a super defining moment. It was like, dang, like this is sick. like this is something I want to do until like I can't anymore.
Yeah. No.
For some reason, like, I'd played soccer and done like conventional school sports and, camps and whatever, but nothing really like clicked for me. And like that one day on my dirt bike, it was like, damn, like, this could be like a lifelong opportunity that's like not many people get to experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of had
to be able.
Oh, go ahead. My bad.
No, you good. I was fortunate enough to be exposed to it through my dad. So that was like the coolest part. Was that like I felt like I was part of like a cool thing.
Yeah, no, I feel that as well. I mean, when I was growing up, I did more of the conventional sports. I did track, like towards high school, and you obviously know I was like huge with baseball. Obviously, you can see in the too.
Yeah.
So you can see like that. You can see obviously I was like always really passionate with that. But growing up too, like even with my sister and different people like that, I was really into karate, and that was always something that like really intrigued me from a young age. And like you're kind of able to like build up a community with the people that you kind of do it with. At least in my opinion, I was able to, the people I did karate with, like 10 so years ago, like we still talk now, and it's like it's a very tight knit community. Is it kind of like that in the racing community? Like how is it, over there? Like do you guys like still do you talk with guys that you've like raced with like a while back? Like how is it over there with those guys?
Yeah. So the race series I used to do back home in the Northeast called the Eastern States Cup. So I did that. That was my primary series that I would race from like 2015 to 2019. So like consecutive years on and whatnot. And so I got to know like pretty much everyone there. And like, for example, this past weekend when I was back at Thunder, back at my house in Massachusetts, like everybody knew me there. Was so cool. Like seeing everybody after, COVID and a long, not being there for a long time because it wasn't safe. And it was really cool to like reconnect with everybody and see how stoked they are with what they're doing and how stoked I am with what I'm doing. And like, I don't know, it's just such a sick environment when everybody there and everybody's friendly. There's no like, beef between anybody. It's all love. Like we all just race for fun, at the end of the day, somebody's going to get first, second, and third, but like, we're all just out there having fun. Like we all talk lines together for the most part, strategy, like, man, it's a dream riding a bike. Like you just have to experience it, but like we'll definitely recommend it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. That's awesome to hear about. You were I ended up I think I saw like some pictures of you that I don't know if I saw them up on like somewhere on Facebook, but it was you standing next to this individual, like, and it's crazy to see like how diverse like the riding game can really be, because I saw you standing next to this guy. He's like 7 foot tall, and
Yes.
I was like, oh my god, like this guy can fit on a bike. I was like this is insane.
Yeah, so that's my friend Sammy. He's from Vermont. He's literally like 7 feet tall. Like he wasn't even standing on one of the podium spots, and I was standing on the first place one, the tallest one, and I'm pretty sure he's still taller than me. Like, dude, that man is a freaking giant. And even when I was on the ground, it looked that much crazier.
No, yeah. I mean, I saw a picture of that dude. I saw the picture of like you and the other guy on the podium, and then him just like literally standing off it. I was like, oh my god.
Yes.
I was like,
I know
he needs like some like superhero bike. Like, what the hell is he gonna be fitting?
Yeah, dude. So I was talking to him about that the other day. I have a funny story about him. So I was talking to him about that at the race, and I was trying to get him to ride one of my bikes, the e-kit. And he was like, they literally don't make a bike big enough for me. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. Because if this small frame was any bigger, I wouldn't be able to ride it.
That's crazy. So
I was at this race in Pennsylvania last year with my dad. It's called Glen Park. And it's a totally self-shuttle mountain. There's no like chairlift. So me and my dad were riding e-bikes up.
Oh, shoot.
And just so the e-bikes have like this pedal assist motor.
Mm-hmm.
He was on just a conventional like enduro bike, which is way slower because it's not pedal assisted and we are on pedal assisted bike, and he kept up with us all day. Like his giant legs, like that man had billions of watts in those things. He's an animal.
That
He's
is
an
crazy. No, I mean, I saw that picture. I was like, that doesn't seem right. Like that seems insane. But
yes.
that was crazy in my mind. But you did bring up COVID, which was something I was planning to talk about a little bit later in the show. But kind of going off that, I've talked with multiple athletes on the show about kind of how COVID impacted them. I've talked with like basketball players, football players, baseball players, even I don't know if I don't know if you remember Curtis Rochelo from Sutton, but he's
Yeah.
he's now throwing down at the University of Hartford. I talked with him about how COVID's impacted their different sports. When it came to racing, how did that kind of all kind of impact that whole thing?
So the travel bans, that's where it like sucked because you couldn't like if you wanted to go to a race like in a different state on short notice, you'd have to like quarantine and all that stuff, and that made it like super tough, especially being in college to like because it's not like I could just leave for like weeks on end to go, but so it was you had to like very strategically plan it. I mean, down south it was a little bit different because like the bike parks down here are very like out there, like in the sticks.
Yeah.
Not everybody was like they didn't care too much about it, but like there was just a lower volume of people anyway, just because like you have to drive like 4 hours off the interstate to go to these parks, and it's crazy. But
That is nuts.
yeah, so like I was last year I traveled to Montana and Colorado, and that was like months in advance of planning, and thankfully at the time I was riding for Yeti Cycles. They helped me out a lot getting out there. But yeah, just like in between the stages, sometimes we had to wear our masks when we were like in line waiting to drop in for the stage, which is like, yeah, I get it. We're all close to that. But now things are starting to ease up. Like I'm going to Scotland in September, actually,
Really?
for my first world race. I was supposed to have my first world race up at Burke Mountain, not too far from where you are right now.
Okay, yeah.
But they canceled it because of COVID.
Really?
So this will be my last year. I got grandfathered in because they canceled the race last year.
Mm.
I grandfathered into the U21 class one more time for my first world event. So that's kind of going to be my highlight this year.
That's sick.
But yeah. So
Yeah. I mean, it's sick that you're able to, get in with all that and, really kind of, hopefully make your mark on the world. Like I really wish you the best over there in Scotland.
thanks.
Yeah, kind of one of the things I really wanted to talk with you about on the show in particular was kind of the commitment obviously when you're younger, like these things, it's like, oh, like you can do like 18,000 different things when you're younger. It's like, oh, you can go from racing to soccer practice to basketball practice to like this, and like you're running here and there. But the more and more I notice like with athletes is, the older you get, the more, you have to narrow down and kind of say like, all right, you have to kind of pick your priorities over certain things. In terms of the commitment of racing, how tough of a commitment is it? Like you were talking about some of the planning in advance. What are some things like in terms of commitment wise that you've had to really kind of plan for as an athlete of your caliber?
So definitely planning overseas trips. There's a lot of thought and time put into it, just because you have to schedule multiple flights, lodging over there. You have to figure out how you're going to get to, traveling in between each places, like a car or a bus or whatever. So there's a lot that like you have to factor in. And, there's cancellations because of weather and, like natural disasters, whatever.
Yeah.
You
Whatever.
always have to like, so one of my best traits as a person is just like I'm super spontaneous, and so like once that happens, I'm good with like making decisions quick to like fix. Say if like the car rental place got struck by lightning and all the cars, like it's not an issue for me to be like, okay, where's the next thing or whatever, just because that's how I think anyway. Like it just pops up in my head, but like see. Yeah, definitely months in advance of planning. Like that's definitely the biggest thing. The other thing is like training. Like up until this year, I've kept it pretty chill with like racing. Of course, I'd like go on rides to like enhance my skills and stuff, but I wouldn't really focus on my endurance. Like my endurance used to just come from cross country racing, just because you extensive amounts of miles all the time.
Yeah.
Like with the enduro stuff, you have to go out and like crazy hard days. Like I do 10-lap days at this place called Canoga. It's a self-shuttle park right down the road from where I live. And like, that's a solid amount of laps per day. And you try and like lower your time throughout the whole day, just like keep crushing the stages, doing intervals on the climb up. And, it's really made a difference. Like a year ago, I would have never been able to pull a margin like I just did with that win at Thunder, if I wasn't training. So like, it's cool to see real time that it's paying off.
Yeah,
that's like the biggest commitment with any professional athlete is training.
Mm-hmm.
How much time are you going to dedicate to bettering yourself?
Yeah, I mean the training is a huge aspect of it. I mean, it's like there's so much that you can like naturally that can you can usually do, but then once you put the training in, like it really does unlock like a whole nother level. Yeah,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Going off that as well, in terms of the commitment, I remember in one instance, I know that when it came to it, you ended up like you had a big race that was actually scheduled for the day of our high school graduation. You actually had to, kind of had to dip out for that. I remember like it was a class day. I remember you like literally like we didn't know what was going on. I think it was like the rumblings were coming through that like you were gonna have to miss it. And I remember you like came in like you gave like a very impromptu speech, and then like you like dipped, and I remember everyone gave you like a standing ovation. It was like, let's go. Dude,
oh my god, that was so funny.
Dude, I remember I was sitting with like all those guys, and like we like back from like my lunch table, and all those guys, we were like all like dying. That was awesome.
I know.
We were like, this is awesome.
I know, because like I was like, dang, I really just want to go do this race, but I have to do this speech. So like, I just wrote up this like whatever, just like, like it was great, cool, like hanging out with y'all, like definitely won't forget it. Just like super generic to the books. And I was like, all right, thanks.
Yeah, it was just like, all right, let's just go for it, dude. Everyone was like so I think everyone too was such on an emotional high of it, like being like the end of high school too, that like anything that was going to come out of your mouth was going to be like so inspirational. And I remember everyone literally got up, and I think we all started clapping because like everyone like people were like crying anyways because it was like class day, like there was like emotional stuff going on.
Oh my god, I know everybody was.
People were getting ready to show the senior video, like, and literally like I remember like everyone just gets up and it was like, yeah, Max. I was like,
dude, thinking back on that was so funny. I was laughing when I walked off stage too.
Dude, that was like I was
what
like,
did I just do?
Dude, honestly, dude, worth it. That was amazing.
Yeah, I know. Oh yeah, of course. Like
that was amazing. No, like
because like yeah, of course anything I was gonna say was gonna be gold. I was just that. I was like,
it was perfect.
Yeah, who like spoke a word and then everybody was dying.
Dude, absolutely, dude. That's what made it great. And I like again, everyone was just such on an emotional like roller coaster throughout that day that literally anything that was going to be said was like, I was like, let's go. And then
live your life. Oh my god.
And then it was like senior video time, and then everyone was like, going through like,
they're like, oh my god, they were used to be so young. It was like it was yesterday. Now we're all like almost through college and like, jeez.
It's like, what the hell happened?
Wow, that was like 2 years ago, dude.
Dude, I was thinking back on that. Like, dude, like I'm just thinking about it. I'm gonna start getting like Snapchat memories of senior year that are 3 years ago now.
Yeah, I know. It's not good, dude. It's not good.
Like as soon as I start seeing that stuff like pop up in my feed this fall, like I'm not gonna be okay with that. Like
no.
Like I don't know how I'm gonna be able to react to that.
Nope.
And like I don't know if it's
when it literally said 1 year, I was like, oh, this is not good.
No.
And COVID just sped everything up 20,000 times. So
dude, it literally 2020 went January, February pandemic, and here we are.
Yes, exactly.
Like
Exactly.
everything just turned on super quick. And like, I remember just being on I was like going through TikTok because that's how I find a lot of people who to come on the show and like certain guests and
Yeah.
stuff. And like one guy was just saying it's literally about to be summer again. It didn't summer just end?
Yes, I know.
It's
Like,
like, what the hell's happening?
I know. It's crazy because like we oftentimes forget like we had a whole winter, you know,
Yeah.
like
Like there are parts of the
and
winter that seem super long, but dude, it's July again. It's like, what the hell
it,
happened?
I know, dude. Well, like I mean, yeah, there's definitely like a lot of sitting waiting around in your house, but like
Oh yeah.
it just felt like it went so fast.
It was insane. No, I mean,
Yeah.
it felt like, it really did feel like that. And just to kind of like just to kind of look at it now, it's like, oh my god. But you talk, those are some of the commitments that you've had to make in terms of racing wise. I was talking with you about like early like racing days, like in terms of when did you kind of become inspired by it? Are there in terms of like now, like kind of being a grown adult now, kind of being like doing some things like this, what are some like favorite racing stories that you've had throughout like your time now, like kind of it could even be going back to stuff like senior year, just like as a like true competitor now, and not as like a kid, like what are some of your
Yeah.
favorite memories that you've had?
So top three. Definitely skipping my graduation to go to that race. That was super funny. But second best moment was probably when I won nationals senior year in 2018. That was super rad because like I got the stars and stripes jersey and like it was like I was a dude with the beat for the next year, but next year I upgraded to pro obviously, but like it
Yeah.
was just super cool to like experience being at the top of like that and then being like, damn, like I can make a career out of this,
Hmm.
because like yeah, I'm not like this like most school smart dude ever, but like I can ride a bike,
Hmm.
and that's like what I focus all my energy into. And like the more I do that, it just keeps getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
The more training I do, the more like skills based focused stuff that I do. Like it's just it's endless possibilities because like there's so many different things you can change like on a bike to improve or like screw up your performance. It's all just putting one big puzzle together. Like
Yeah.
that's my favorite part. It's just figuring the whole thing out. You
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
never.
and yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy. One of the things I did want to ask you in terms of that was, you're talking about putting the puzzle together. In terms of like when it comes to riding, and there's something else in this. There was something else you said that I want to kind of kind of bounce back on and ask you about. But you're kind of talking about putting the puzzle together. When it comes to the puzzle of professionally riding, how much of it is like physically, like the bike itself, like how, like the equipment that you're like the amount of like stuff that you put in the equipment, and how much of it is like the mental aspect of you, and like how much like you kind of have to focus and like do stuff.
Okay, so like the golden rule is typically like 80% rider, 20% bike and equipment, right?
Okay.
So, and I hold that true to that, to this day. But this new bike I just got on with Cannondale, it's got this very particular suspension design called the high pivot, which makes
Okay.
the track a lot faster, so it's a lot more active. So like I'm convinced, like I've been riding this bike for 7 months now, and I'm convinced like I can ride lines people can't because of the way it's designed. Like
Really?
yeah, so because dude, like I'm telling you, there will be times where like I'll be riding with my friends and like I'll just ride over like the steepest, wettest, slipperiest routes like you and it just like tracks over all of them like it's nobody's business. So like there's like a whole other science thing around that bike and like I could talk about that for hours. But
That,
so definitely having a good helmet is a lot.
mhm.
Means a lot too.
Yeah.
Like plastic BS whatever dink helmet, and then expect to go crash your brains out at 40 miles an hour in a rock garden full of granite.
Yeah.
Like this.
No.
So like you definitely have to rely on your equipment, but like for the most part, you as a rider have to have the skill and the the desire to go that extra mile an hour faster, extra pedal stroke farther, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I could never, probably do that. I would wipe out. My ass would be fucking just all over the place.
Yeah.
I'd be dead. I mean, I have no,
Yeah.
I have no idea how you fucking pull it off. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
It's nuts. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to, maybe kind of double back and ask you about was you were talking about, being able to kind of, make quick decisions on the fly. You were talking about like your like a car dealership place, like getting struck by lightning and just being like, all right, let's go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Kind of going off that. Does that kind of a mentality like, help you when you're racing too? Because, like there's a lot, when certain things maybe don't go according to plan and you need to, have a backup plan. Does that kind of a mentality like really kind of, help you when you're out there racing?
Yeah, dude. So like really good way to describe it would be, for example, riding a dirt bike, you get like tossed around a lot because 9 times out of 10, that thing's going to weigh probably twice as much as you do. So like that combined with like the spontaneous, always being alert of where you are type mindset, like you can be able to like basically like look at a line within a split second change, and then fight against the bike and its motions to put in the direction you want to go. So having the motor experience combined with, the super spontaneous mindset I feel like is such a good thing to have, especially on the fly, because, anything can happen. You can hit a rock and it'll come up out of the ground. Like you literally pull it out of the ground.
Jeez.
And you have to anticipate, is it going to be in the way of your rear wheel? Like, where's my rear wheel is it going to track over it? Like, you always have to be thinking about everything on the fly. And it's, it takes a certain type of person to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know if I'd be able to do that on the fly like that. That is just insane to be able to kind of have that kind of mental fortitude. Another thing that I know that has been a big part of your career, I do want to ask you, what are some big obstacles that you've kind of had to, overcome throughout your career? I know that, you've kind of been at the highest heights, but I know that you've also had some pitfalls as well. What are some things that you've had to, what were some big obstacles that you've had to kind of overcome throughout your career?
So 2017 at Thunder Mountain, actually, I broke my thumb in half after I'd won the U21 class there.
Yeah.
I had 2 pins in my right thumb, and that sucked a lot because I couldn't remember. I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I broke my right thumb, so I couldn't write. And Mr. Milichevsky did not believe me. He was like, "Your thumb ain't broken, dude. You can still do the math." And I was like, "Guy, look, whatever." But
I literally have pins in my hand.
Yeah, that man he was convinced, but he was a goat. He's probably gonna watch this and be like, "Oh, that dude."
Yeah. Oh wait, who?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, no, literally.
No, but no, that's awesome though. I mean, having a bunch, kind of dealing with a bunch of injuries like that. I've talked with athletes that have, like had torn ACLs, different injuries, like all of a sudden, all the sorts. Like I remember one day, I think it was April Fool's. Oh, there goes my clapper. The thing always just flies on it whenever I say something too fast. But kind of going off that, I remember, I think it was like April Fool's Day one time, and you like posted I think you posted a picture of yourself like in a cast. It was just like, well, boys, it's a tough one. I was like, it was like Max, what the hell happened?
Dude. That was actually a picture after I got surgery in my thumb.
Yeah, no, I literally thought you re-injured yourself. I was like, oh my god, this guy Max cannot.
Oh
catch
my god, I can't. That's like one of my. Yeah, I get a lot of messages about that.
Yeah,
Never replied to was like, "You're a douche," But yeah. So then actually, I have an even better story. So, 2019, my freshman year in college, right? I'll never live this down. So, 2 weeks, I think, before we were supposed to leave for California for collegiate nationals. And to go to the nationals race, you had to get selected, right? So me and me and all of my fast buddies got selected, and we had these like really sketchy dirt jumps on campus that we were riding on my enduro bike for some reason, and I just had to like eject midair because I screwed up, and I landed on my ankle sideways, and I broke my leg.
Oh my God.
So we're pulling out of the driveway, and my friend Bergen was driving me to the hospital, and he backed my truck up into this wood fence and like pushed my door panel in and like scratched my truck, and I was so mad. But I was like, honestly, I really don't care. Can we just go get my leg fixed, please? And like, we got to the hospital, and my coach showed up, and like, that man did not speak a word to me the entire night, and I just knew like, fuck, like this is not good. Like, and I was like, nah, maybe it's just sprained or whatever. And I had like an 8-inch long spiral fracture from my ankle up my shin, like, just like completely toast.
It's a hell of a sprain.
Yeah, hell of a sprain, I know. So, I did not have to get surgery on it. I didn't have to, nothing. He was like, just don't screw it up. So I was in an air cast and like crutches, and then I was like, hey, can I like KT tape my leg and put it in a race and go race on it? He was like, if you don't crash, you'll be fine. So I went and did this race with a broken leg in California. Getting through the airport with a broken leg is the shittiest thing you will ever experience. Let me just tell you that right now. That shit sucks hardcore. But so like we get to California, like we do the practicing or whatever, and like I'm constantly like taking off my air cast to put on like my race brace and like tape the crap out of it so it doesn't move.
Oh my God.
And I think I got 19th that year in like the med A class out of like 57 people or 61 people. So like that was pretty cool. It was kind of worth it, a top 20 with a broken leg, But yeah, so that was definitely one point in my life where I was like, yeah, I can do this for the rest of my life.
It's crazy.
I'll be able to tough it out.
No, I mean, that is nuts. I don't know how the hell you pulled that off.
Yeah, dude. Nah, it's just like, I mean, I definitely wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
No.
Like, definitely don't do that. But,
yeah,
I've just been doing this for such a long time. I was like, if I can just keep it on 2 wheels the whole time, I'll be fine. But if I crashed, I would have had a compound fracture, and then, yeah.
Wow, that would have been awful.
There's definitely some risk versus some reward there. But, like, in my mind, it was worth it,
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense.
I don't know. I kind of caught a lot of heat for that, too, because people are like, you're screwing up your body, like, whatever.
That is nuts. I couldn't even imagine doing something like that. That is insane.
We're here for a good time, not a long time.
Fair, very fair. That is insane, though, dude. I mean,
yeah.
I couldn't even imagine doing something like that. I mean, dealing with a bunch of injuries like that, kind of, and like the fact that like you didn't even like give it like a full rehab is like insane.
Yeah, I mean, definitely after that race, I like did not ride.
Yeah.
For a long time until it healed, but like that was pretty sketchy. Pretty sketchy.
Dude, I can't even imagine doing something like that.
Yeah.
That's so freaking insane.
Yeah, dude.
But kind of going off that, I'm kind of maybe like looking long term with all this. What are some goals that maybe you kind of hope to achieve throughout your kind of career? Like, what are some things in the short term, and maybe even like outside of racing too? What are some like goals that you have for yourself, like as a rider and just as an individual? What are some things that you're hoping to do?
So like, I've been in the trail building industry for like 2-3 years now, and that's kind of like what I think I'm gonna do with my life. Like, ideally, I want to open my own bike park and like build my own trails, have my own crew, and like do spiel. And then like with the racing thing, I'm gonna race until like a decent like racing age for a professional or, as long as I can keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully make a career out of it for a couple of years, be able to, live off racing, travel the world. That's kind of my dream. My original plan was doing that with moto, but I found that my mountain biking to me was a little bit more enjoyable. You can do it in a lot more areas. Like I'm building, jumps in my backyard right now. Like we're getting dirt dump trucked in and wheelbarrow into the backyard and stacking up these huge jumps. So it's not like I could build a dirt bike track in my backyard.
Yeah, no, that'd be a lot tougher. I can imagine.
Yeah, so longevity-wise, racing as long as.
Yeah, as long as you can. What is kind of like an average like racing age? You were talking about like going to like an average racing age. Like, what is that typically for someone in your sport?
So, like the fastest guys in the world right now, one of them, his name is Richie Rude. He's actually from Connecticut.
That's it.
I did ride him growing up, but so typically like the professional racing age is anywhere from 18 to there's guys as high as 40, 45 who are still, competing at a global, an extremely high level.
That's insane.
Making a living off of it. So, there's a very small percentile that get to, 45, 50, but, generally speaking, it's more like 18 to like 35.
Okay. Yeah.
So
that's still a very long career.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And with that comes a lot of injuries. So like, makes you feel like you age faster and your body definitely will. But, it's all just finding that good balance of rest, recovery, and then, going out and hitting it hard.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. I mean, I wish you the best with it. In terms of, going on for, in terms of racing, before we do wrap up and kind of do some stuff like that, one of the last couple of real questions I wanted to ask of you was, you were talking about like the travel of kind of going around doing some stuff like that, kind of like being away from home for long periods of time, going off doing travel like that. What is that kind of a, how does that kind of affect you, kind of like having to do like these long trips and stuff like that?
So, it's definitely a balance. Going on a 2-hour flight and driving 4 hours to the venue, like you're going to be tired at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But, so you definitely have to make sure you're sleeping a lot, eating properly.
Mm-hmm.
Just seriously, the biggest key with, traveling and racing and creating a harmony around it is just, you have to make sure you're just balancing your strain versus how much you're sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
If you only get 4 hours of sleep a night and you're riding and practicing for 12 hours a day, like your body's not going to be able to have the proper amount of time to recover. So like, you got to be going to bed really early. Can't be going out partying with your friends at night. Only after the race. After the race, do whatever you want. Like, but like, slugging 10 double IPAs the night before a race, that's probably not the greatest idea. No matter how much water you drink, you're gonna explode the next day.
Yeah, no, so, definitely not the strategy to go with.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
A couple of light beers, you'll be good. But yeah, so like definitely balancing, especially on travel days, just because you're exhausted, just because of interacting with, hundreds of people throughout the airport, whatever. That's definitely the biggest, that like starts your week. So if you start off the week on a shitty note, then you're like, fuck for sleep for the rest of the week because it's just been bad. So like that's another thing is the mental part is you gotta like make sure you're mentally prepared for like change, whatever. Literally like anything that can happen will happen. Mm-hmm. So like you just gotta be ready.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much it. You just gotta be ready,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in terms of being ready, what is like the next big thing that's up for you? What is the next big race that you're going to be competing in, as a rider?
Yeah. So October 1st and 2nd, I have my first Enduro World Series event in Scotland.
Okay, so that is the next event.
Yep. Yeah, so that's my next big I do have, so I actually have an Eastern States Cup race at Arrowhead Recreation Center in New Hampshire,
Okay.
late August, and then halfway through September, I'm gonna fly over there, get a couple weeks practicing, and then and hit the days for my my first world event. So
That's
that'll
sick.
be that'll be a pretty big one, especially because I'm definitely at my fastest point in my U21 career. Because I'm racing that class. They let me do one just because I never got to before I go and race pro. So yeah, I'm hoping to make it worth it. I've been having a good streak of luck, so knock on wood, I hope it continues and that all my stuff keeps working properly and my bones don't break. So
That's always a good bet, man. I wish you the absolute best with it, but I am afraid to say that we are now down to the wire, which means that we're going to do a little kind of run through of what we talked about throughout this episode, and we'll send Max on his way, and we'll send you guys into the weekend. Obviously, we welcomed Max Beaupre into the show. Max, obviously, it was a great time to have you on, man. I'm glad that we got to reminisce, talk about some stuff, and
of course.
it was a great time.
Yeah, man, for sure. It was good catching up with you. That high school graduation story was too funny.
That still gets me to this day.
Yeah.
Class day, man, was just it was a wild ride.
Yes, it was, to say the least. Yes, it was. Shout out to all the Sutton boys. Miss y'all.
Absolutely. Shout out to all the Sutton guys. I miss you guys too. I haven't seen nearly enough of you guys in so much time.
Yeah, I know. Seriously.
I really need to see more people again.
Yeah, facts.
But going off that, we got to talk with Max about his journey into competitive mountain bike racing, his early roots, as well as some of his favorite racing stories and some of the obstacles he's had to overcome throughout his career. We talked about how much of the sport is mental versus physical and skill versus equipment. We got to talk about the impact that COVID had on his particular sport of choice, as well as some future career goals that he has for himself and what he wishes to do after racing. All in all, it was a great time here on Down to the Wire. If you're not following Down to the Wire at this point, what the hell are you guys doing? You can follow us on all social media platforms. We're available now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, finally, Google Podcasts. But the main hub you can reach us through is our Instagram. You can follow that at down.tothewire. Again, at down.tothewire. Max, is there anything that you want to shout out personally for yourself?
Yeah, honestly, man, shout out to my family, all the Sutton people that supported me from day one. I know I was that bike nerd in high school, but y'all the goats, because here we are. Shout out to my folks, Cannondale. They hooked it up this year, with the bikes and the racing. So pumped, but yeah, just thank everybody for the support. It's so sick to see everybody stoked on what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's amazing to see that. It's amazing to see that so many guys from a small town in Massachusetts are making a big impact on the country and the world. And Max, we wish you the absolute best of luck. But from Down to the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
I'm Max Beaupre.
And we'll see you guys next time. Have a great weekend. Peace out.